Hey guys, I'm at the ballpark again. The boys are practicing, so I figured I would read a little bit of Winn-Dixie. So we left off chapter 8. I'm going to pick up today on chapter 9, and then I'll do a little wild robot. Just about everything that happened to me that summer happened because of Winn-Dixie. For instance, without him, I would never have met Gloria Dump. He is the one who introduced us. What happened was this. I was riding my bike home from Gertrude Pet's, and Winn-Dixie was running along beside me. We went past Dunlap and Stevie Dewberry's house. And when Dunlap and Stevie saw me, they got on their bikes and then they started following me. They wouldn't ride with me. They just rode behind me, whispering things that I didn't want to hear. Neither of them had any hair on their head because their mama shaved their heads every week during the summer because one of the Dunlaps got fleas in his hair from their cat, Sadie. And now they looked like two identical bald-headed babies, even though they weren't twins. Dunlap was 10 years old like me, and Stevie was 9, but he was tall for his age. "I can't hear you," I hollered back at them. "I can't hear what you're saying." Winn-Dixie started to race way ahead of me. "You better watch out," Dunlap hollered. "That dog is headed right for the witch's house." "Winn-Dixie," I called. But he kept on going faster, and then he hopped the gate and he went into the most overgrown jungle of a yard I'd ever seen. "You better go get your dog out of there," Dunlap said. "That witch'll eat your dog," Stevie said. "Shut up," I told them. I got off my bike and I went up to the gate and I hollered, "Winn-Dixie, you better come out of there." But she didn't. "She's probably eating him right now," Stevie said. He and Dunlap were standing behind me. "She eats dogs all the time." "Get lost, you bald-headed babies," I said. "Hey," said Dunlap, "that ain't a very nice way for a preacher's daughter to be talking." He and Stevie backed up a little bit. I stood there and I thought for a minute. I finally decided that I was more afraid of losing Winn-Dixie than I was of having to deal with a dog-eating witch. So I went through the gate and into the yard. "That witch is going to eat your dog for dinner and going to have you for dessert," Stevie said. "We'll tell the preacher what happened to you," Dunlap shouted after me. By then, I was deep in the jungle, and there was every kind of thing growing everywhere. There were flowers and vegetables and trees and vines. "Winn-Dixie," I said. "Hee hee hee," I heard. "Oh, this dog sure likes to eat." And I went around a really big tree. It was all covered with moss, and there was Winn-Dixie. He was eating something right out of the witch's hand. She looked up at me. "This dog sure likes peanut butter," she said. "You can always trust a dog that likes peanut butter." Now, she was old, and she had crinkly brown skin, and she had a big floppy hat with flowers all over it, and she didn't have any teeth. But she didn't look like a witch. She looked really nice, and Winn-Dixie liked her, and I could tell. "I'm sorry we got into your garden," I said. "You ain't got to be sorry," she said. "I enjoy a little bit of company." "My name is Opal," I told her. "And my name is Gloria Dump," she said. "Ain't that a terrible last name, Dump?" "Well, my last name is Baloney," I said. "Sometimes the kids at school back at home at Watley would call me lunch meat." "Ha!" Gloria Dump laughed. What about this dog? What do you call him?" "Winn-Dixie," I said. Winn-Dixie thumped his tail on the ground, and he tried smiling, but it was hard with his mouth all full of peanut butter. "Winn-Dixie," Gloria Dump said. "You mean like the grocery store?" "Yes, ma'am," I said. "Woo-wee," she said. That takes the strange name prize, don't it?" "Yes, ma'am," I said. "I was just about fixing to make myself a peanut butter sandwich," she said. "Do you want one too?" "All right," I said. "Yes, please." "Go on, sit down," she said, pointing at a lawn chair, and the back was all busted out, "but just sit down very carefully." So I sat down carefully, and Gloria Dump made me a peanut butter sandwich on white bread. And then she made one for herself, and then she put in her false teeth to eat it. And when she was done, she said to me, "You know, my eyes ain't too good at all. I can't see nothing but general shapes of things. So I gotta rely on my heart. Why don't you go on and tell me everything about yourself so I can see you with my heart?" And because Winn-Dixie was looking up at her like she was the best thing that he had ever seen, because that peanut butter sandwich had been so good, and because I had been waiting for a long time to tell some person everything about me, I did. Next is chapter 10. I like Gloria Dump. I told Gloria Dump everything. I told her how me and the preacher had just moved to Naomi and how I had to leave all my friends behind. I told her about my mama leaving, and I listed out the 10 things that I knew about her, and I explained that here in Naomi I miss Mama more than ever when I was in Whatley. I told her about the preacher being like a turtle, hiding all the time in his shell, and I told her about finding Winn-Dixie in the produce department and how because of him I got to be friends with Miss Franny Block. And then I got a job working for a man named Otis at Gertrude Pet's, and I even got invited to Sweetie Pie Thomas's birthday party. I even told Miss Gloria Dump how Dunlap and Stevie Dewberry called her a witch. But I told her that they were stupid, they were mean, they were bald-headed boys, and I don't believe them, not for long anyhow. And the whole time I just kept on talking. Gloria Dump was listening. She was nodding her head, and she was smiling, she was frowning, she was saying, is that right? Is that right? And I could feel her listening with all of her heart. And it felt good. You know what she said when it was all done, when I was all done? What? Could be that you got more of your mama in you than just your red hair and freckles and running really fast. Really? I said, like what? Like maybe you got a green thumb. The two of us could plant something and see how it grows. Let's test your thumb out. Okay, I said. What Gloria Dump picked for me to grow was a tree. Or she said it was a tree. To me, it looked kind of like a plant. And she had me dig a hole for it, and then we put it in the ground, and then we pat some dirt around it tight, like it was a baby, and I was tucking it into bed. What kind of a tree is it? I asked Gloria Dump. It's a wait-and-see tree, she said. What do you mean? That means that you got to wait for it to grow up before you know what it is. Can I come back and see it tomorrow? I asked. Child, she said, as long as it's in my garden, you are welcome here. But the tree ain't going to be changed by tomorrow. But I want to see you too, I said. Said Gloria Dump. I ain't going nowhere. I'll be right here. I woke Winn-Dixie up then. He had a peanut butter in his whiskers, and he kept on yawning and stretching, and he licked Gloria Dump's hand before we left, and I thanked her. That night, when the preacher had tucked me into bed, I told him how I had gotten a job at Gertrude Pet's, and I told him all about making friends with Miss Franny Block and getting invited to Sweetie Pie's party, and I told him about meeting Gloria Dump. Winn-Dixie lay on the floor, waiting for the preacher to leave so that he could hop up in bed like he always did. When I was done talking, the preacher kissed me goodnight, and then he leaned way over, and he gave Winn-Dixie a kiss too, right on top of his head. You can go ahead and get up there now, he told Winn-Dixie, and Winn-Dixie looked at the preacher. He didn't smile at all. He just opened his mouth wide, like he was laughing, like the preacher had just told him the funniest joke in the world. And this is what amazed me the most. The preacher laughed back. Winn-Dixie hopped right up into the bed, and then the preacher got up and turned the light out, and he leaned over and he kissed Winn-Dixie too, right on the nose. But he didn't notice. He was already asleep, and he was snoring. And that brings us to chapter 11, and I'll stop, and I'll do a little bit more tomorrow. But I am just loving Winn-Dixie, and I hope you are too. So I'll see you later. Bye.